everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I spent the morning with a friend who's also escaping narcissistic abuse, and we had wonderful, beautiful conversations around the trauma and the abuse and how we've been moving through it and getting to the other side. And I hope that this message finds you well and that you are also on the road to recovery. During our conversation, we brought up so many different topics, but one that really stuck with me and I wanted to chat with you about today is the idea of clutter and narcissistic abuse. So before I got into my marriage, I was a very neat and very organized person. I felt like I was someone that always had it together. Everything had a home and a place. And after getting married and then having children, I just thought that being overwhelmed with the amount of things that we have in our home was just a symptom of having children and having so much that comes along with them. You're constantly transitioning through different size clothing and different size shoes, and you're transitioning through different seasons, and you've got extra gloves and extra hats, and of course the toys, and then the groceries, and having just sort of snacks on hand at all times, and craft supplies and sports equipment, and the list just keeps going on and on and on. I didn't understand though why I struggled so much more than the other moms that I knew who were also dealing with the same amount of stuff or more because they had more children. But I felt like I was struggling so much. My house felt chaotic. I felt chaotic being in my home. I felt like I could never get all the laundry done. I felt like the cupboards were always stacked full, but I never really knew what I was going to make for dinner. It felt like overwhelm and chaos all the time. And I remember watching so many YouTube videos and trying to find systems and different ways to deal with it. And I even got into the decluttering movement where people were just throwing away lots and lots of things. And even when I would throw things away, I just felt like I was always overwhelmed, and I would do some and more would come, and the piles just felt like they never got smaller. I always felt like there were extra bills and receipts and just things everywhere at all times, that I was just being buried under them. And now that I'm out of the narcissistic abuse, that is gone. And it's crazy, like having one person leave, and not even the person that I thought was the messy one leave, has allowed me to clean up my space, to have everything have a home, to feel at peace and at rest in my home. Not just because I didn't have this negative energy person around all the time, but also because I didn't have all this stuff around all the time. I was able to actually get rid of it and start to reclaim my home and my space and enjoy it more. So I wanted to go through the 8 reasons why I think clutter comes through narcissistic abuse and let you in on a little bit of those secrets. So number 1, emotional distress. When we are overwhelmed in our emotions, when we're sad and hurt and wounded, we're not worrying about the space around us. We're worrying about the internal world and the pain that we're going through there. So our energy and our focus is internal, and the exterior can get overwhelming. We don't have energy left at the end of the day to take care of the external, and we lack motivation as well. You're sort of like, man, I feel so bad. I don't have energy or motivation to take care of this outside. I just need to go to bed, or I just need to do something that makes me feel better, and cleaning and organizing is not it. So I think it's the emotional distress from being in these relationships, even if you don't recognize it. Number 2, I think it's also a coping mechanism. So you're getting physical barriers between you and your abuser. It's just like when you're in these narcissistic relationships, oftentimes we gain weight because we want, psychologically, we beneath the surface of knowledge of ourselves, we are trying to repel these people, repel this dark energy. And so we're trying to protect ourselves with whether it be weight or extra items around us, but we might be just trying to make physical space and barriers between them and us. And having lots of things can be a distraction, right? So we might be using these things to distract us from the difficult things going through our lives. So you might have a lot of craft supplies and you might be doing lots of crafting just to get your mind off of it. And there's nothing wrong with having a hobby and having therapy or something therapeutic to do, but it could be a source of the clutter as well. It can also be retail therapy. So I found myself shopping more than I normally would. And that could be for anything. I might grocery shop more. I might shop for more kids' toys, shop for more kids' clothes, shop for more clothes for myself, just because it was a distraction. It felt good to look for something, find something you seemingly love, and purchase it and get that sort of hit of dopamine when everything else felt like it was falling apart and was really negative. So that can also contribute to the clutter in your home because you're shopping a lot as a way to soothe yourself. Number 3, and this one was a big one. This one was a really interesting thought, was a loss of identity. So when the narcissist comes in and strips you of all the things that make you you, they belittle you, they put you down, they make you feel small and worthless and ashamed of who you truly are, or they fight you on the things that you love and they fight you on the things that you enjoy, and they're sucking the joy out of all those little things in life. You lose your identity. And you stop understanding the things that you like and understanding the things that make you happy. And so you might be making purchases of things, but because of all the chaos and confusion in your head from the narcissist's manipulative words and actions, you might buy a sweater, for instance, and you might not know if you like it. You might not know if it fits you well because you've lost the identity and that self of who you are, what you like, what represents you. And so you just try different things. Like, I've noticed that now that I'm out of the relationship, I can go back and I look in my closet and I recognize the things that I was buying during the relationship actually weren't me at all. And there's no rhyme or reason to them. They were just random pieces because I was trying to find myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my style. I lost my identity, and so I was just searching and searching by buying different things all the time to see if this thing would hit the nail on the head, and I just felt like nothing ever did. So we end up with a lot of extra stuff that just doesn't suit us. My puppy's outside the door, you can hear him. Sorry about that. Number 4 is isolation and lack of support. So when the narcissist begins to strip us of things, they don't stop at just our identity. They strip us of our friends, they strip us of our relationships, our family, and it can be very isolating and lonely. So a distraction might be shopping for you, or the fact that you don't have people coming over to your home and socializing with you, and you have that rich network of relationships, you can just easily let your home slip down because no one's seeing it. When you have friends and rich relationships and people to interact with, your focus is on people and feeding into those relationships. But when those have been stripped away, all you have is to feed into yourself and your home, and you're trying to fill that space and that activity of being social with stuff. Number 5, financial control. So the narcissist in my life was so much in financial control, like micromanaging every last dollar that I spent, but would never sit down and do the bills with me, so that it wasn't a true attempt at at spending and budgeting together, but it was just a constant like overarching boss that was going to oversee and make sure that I was doing the right things. And so I never felt free to be able to buy storage solutions, or I also didn't feel free to give away or get rid of things because I was always afraid of how I would replace them in case I ever needed them again, because the narcissist would always be micromanaging the money and wouldn't want me to buy it again. So whereas things that I could have let go of, as an example, if I had ice skates and one of my sons had grown out of it, maybe I would have let those go and got a new pair for my younger son when it was time. But because I lived under this financial control and oversight and scrutiny, I was always afraid to give anything away or throw anything away or sell it, for fear that if I ever needed it again, the narcissist wouldn't let me purchase it. So I kept a lot of things that I could have let go of. And I'm glad that I'm able to start to let go of those things now. Number 6, there's just this level of overwhelm, and it is a real thing. Like when you open a closet and it is just stuffed full of things, it is overwhelming to try and weed through it and make decisions, especially when your brain is so cluttered up with worrying about the narcissist and you're walking on eggshells, worrying about what they're going to think, what they're going to say, how they're going to respond to you when they get home. You don't have space left to tackle the overwhelm in your space when your brain is overwhelmed with thoughts. So your space just continues to get more and more overwhelming. You also don't have a lot of energy. It's exhausting being around a narcissist, someone who sucks your very energy away from you. So you're just overwhelmed and exhausted, and you lack the energy to get up and do what needs to be done. Number 7, there's an emotional attachment sometimes to things. And that emotional attachment might just be a sense of security and stability for you. So when you think of getting rid of something, you don't want to, because that represents safety and security and stability in your life. So you hold on to it longer than you should. And that is a response to the trauma that you're living through under narcissistic abuse, that you're just seeking stability and just security anywhere that you can. And number 8, this was a big one for me, and this is one that I've been able to, now that he's gone, start to move beyond, and that is gifts. So the narcissist would give me gifts, things that I would never in a million years have picked up for myself or wanted, and then he would guilt me into keeping them by saying that he worked really hard to find the perfect thing, and that he could never make me happy, and that he's trying so hard. And so there are literally things that I've held on to for 10 years that have never suited me, that have never fit properly, that have never fallen into my style, but I kept because I was told that they worked so hard at this, and that I'm ungrateful and I don't appreciate. And so almost to prove those characteristics wrong, I held on to those items. I never used them because they were never me. But because of that guilt tripping and manipulation, I held on to those items. And I would move them from home to home with us as we moved. Not because I loved them, not because I used them, but surely because they told me that they bought it and they worked hard on it. And I didn't want to seem ungrateful, even though it was nothing that I was ever using. So those are my 8 ways that narcissism and narcissistic abuse is connected to clutter. If you find yourself overwhelmed by clutter, it's not the children. It's not your home is too small. When you get away from the narcissistic abuse and you begin to heal, you'll be able to clear out your spaces far more easily and start to be at peace and happy in your home again. Just yesterday was our garbage day, and I was able to clear out 3 bags of garbage. Not garbage per se, but things that were beyond their lifespan, and things that weren't serving me, things that I wasn't happy to use or happy to have in my space, things that couldn't be donated, but I just kept because I was under this tyranny of this narcissist. And now that he's gone, I can let those things go as well. I look forward to continuing to clear out and make space for happiness and peace and positivity in my home and in my brain more and more every single day. I hope you will stop and just share this with someone that you think could use it. I would love if you would subscribe to the channel and join us here in this community. We have beautiful people making changes to their lives, and I hope you'll become a part of all of that. I'd also love it if you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you on the next video. Talk to you soon. Bye.